This is the January 20th, 2021 meeting of the Land Acquisition Commission for the town of Fairfield. My name is Mike Widmer, Chair of the Land Acquisition Commission. Welcome, everyone. If we could just do just kind of run the horn, who is here, just for roll call, in no particular order. Jeff?
Kevin Alnick's here.
Kevin? Adam? Trey? Yes?
Here.
Jeff,
do we have Nick or Linda? Okay. So if
Kara is here.
Linda, I'm sorry?
Kara,
yep. So Linda Batchelder is absent right now. Cassandra, I'm going to point you to vote on her behalf.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, no problem.
Okay, so we will call the meeting to order. It is 6:04. Appointment of alternates we just did. Pledge of Allegiance, I think obviously, I know some people are traveling, but let's recite it. Certainly on Inauguration Day, I think it's important that we read through that. So I pledge of allegiance to the country of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will move quickly into approval of minutes from our October 21st meeting. Doesn't seem like that long ago, although it seems like a long, long time ago. Does anyone have any comments on that or a motion?
Adam will motion to approve the October 21st minutes.
Great. Is there a second?
I second it.
Great.
Is that Tara?
I think that was Cassandra.
No, that wasn't me. That was, sorry, Cassandra.
Oh. Okay, thank you.
Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes from October 21st, say aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? Passes unanimously. Nice job on those minutes, Adam.
Thank you. Is the only people missing are Linda and Nick?
That's correct.
Okay. And Cassandra voting in place of Linda?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So quickly into my chairman's report. It's been a year unlike any other. I appreciate obviously everyone's commitment to serving on this commission. We've all been obviously. It's interesting because our last in-person meeting was last January, and since then, there's been challenges at every turn. We didn't meet in April. We met virtually in July and October. We said goodbye to Bob Daly in April, I believe, or March, who was a Land Acquisition Commission member who passed away. We welcomed 4 new members with Trey and Kevin and Cassandra and Nick with new ideas. So it's been just an interesting year and certainly challenging on trying to get anything accomplished via a teleconference call. But even beyond that, I found myself, I think, not frustrated, but just, realizing that, and these are some of the things we need to think about as we move forward this year. But, we serve in an advisory role. The Land Acquisition Commission is an advisory commission to the First Selectman. We have no binding authority other than really providing guidance and advising the selectmen and other town officials on the purchase, the sale, or the donation of real property. And that means, and I think we're all here because we have a passion for open space, and we want to be involved in what the town does with its inventory of property, maybe adding to that or selling some of it. But I think we're further challenging that. Obviously, there's been changes with the Conservation Commission, with Brian Carey away from his duties right now. And he was a big facilitator of what we did. And so certainly it's been inconsistent in what our role is. And I think that's one of the things we need to really determine. And that, involves better communication with specifically the first select woman right now. And, how can we better serve the town? And I speak to that knowing that in December, I'm sure everyone saw the news, but the town is buying a 12-acre property in Southport on Barbary Road, the site of the old Giant Steps School. It's a great piece of property. We're spending $5.1 million on it, but we weren't involved in that process. And I also just learned recently that the town is looking to perhaps sell two kind of orphan properties. And what I mean by that is there's a property on 216 Riverside Drive and a property at 383 Pine Creek, which are both about a tenth of an acre. They're orphan properties that the town acquired years ago, probably after a subdivision. And I think they're maybe in the process of being sold to neighbors or neighboring property owners. And I say that knowing that in the past we have provided guidance or initial advisory on those types of situations, and we weren't involved in either one of these. So you could chalk it up to COVID. You could chalk it up to just communication. But those are some of the things I think we want to be more at the forefront of moving forward. And so just from my vantage point, those are some of the things I think we need to try to do better as we look at 2021 and, obviously trying to serve at the best of our capacity. Any thoughts or comments there?
This is Kevin. I actually have a thought around that as well, and I had some of the same kind of brainstorming prior to this meeting myself around the Giant Steps School and seeing that news. And, part of Brenda's comments around it were the idea of, hey, let's make sure we take land that the town should have for use, that the town decides how to use it rather than some developer coming in and deciding how to use it, and cutting it up into housing developments or something that maybe the town wouldn't have preferred, right? So I think it seemed to me like the strategy was, let's get out ahead of this one. We think we can use it for something useful as a town. And they went out and did it, and it sounded like it was, kind of all well planned and executed. Then I think about our role and say, okay, well, what else is out there in terms of open space? And we all know we don't have much of a budget, but where can we help kind of merge in with that strategy of let's keep Fairfield properties for the use of what the town would like them to be, and some of that could go to be open space. So I just think in light of her comments and perspective on the Giant Steps School and why they did it partially, we could potentially be part of that conversation going forward and say, hey, is there anything else out there that as it potentially comes to market or is open or, could be used for various things, and we don't want something to go to a developer, for example, in a certain location, open space might be an attractive option. Where can we get involved and help stay ahead of those type of things? I think might be really interesting.
Yeah, that's some great thoughts there, Kevin. And I think we're all probably in lockstep with you. I know in the past this commission has discussed, we should have a target list of properties or an idea of what might be, if it ever became available, would we want to, almost like a wish list.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a couple years ago develop a pretty lengthy list of all the open space properties in the town, both owned by the town and not owned by the town. I think I might have sent that out to you guys, but that might be a good place for us to start looking at, what are some of the larger parcels in town and which ones might be of use to the town.
Cassandra Marshall here. Just adding on to that conversation, I think it's a great idea about having the target list of properties. I'm wondering if it would be beneficial also to sort of have a protocol of like, okay, once we've identified property, who do we contact first and that kind of thing for new people like me that might not know how to advocate.
Just repeat that again, Cassandra.
Oh, sorry. So I was thinking I like the idea of having a target list of properties, But I'm wondering if also could we develop sort of a protocol of how we go about advocating for that property, like having who do we contact first and how we make that communication happen? Or does it exist already?
Yeah, I think communication is the key, and maybe working with the first selectman's office. I mean, it's hard for us as a town body to go say, hey, we're looking at your property, Mr. Private Property Owner.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a fine line there, but certainly I think, I know I've discussed before, Aquarian owns a bunch of property in town that, I think we have right of first refusal if those ever came onto the market, but we want to make sure that we are in a place to purchase those types of properties if they ever came up for sale. The town GIS mapping site is a wonderful resource and a great place to go to start kind of looking around. And I was just about to look in did I send out my open space inventory to you guys after the last meeting?
I didn't see it.
Anyone?
No, this is Nick. I didn't see it. And Mike, one thing on that same subject is with communication, real quick. Before we move on, that is, maybe we do sit down maybe with Brenda and get a quick 30 minutes with her and kick off the year and let her know, that some of our concerns is communication and the best way to move this commission forward. Kind of get her views, but just kind of let her know that, with the Southport property and with the other two properties that were orphaned, that we weren't included, and those are the types of things that makes us kind of realize that we need better communication. Get it on her radar. I think she'd give us 30 minutes for sure.
And if I can chime in, sorry.
Go ahead.
This is Tara Hawley. In speaking about open space, I'm not sure if everybody on the phone is aware of the situation at 461 Mill Hill Terrace, which is an 8-acre parcel that a developer has identified to put, I believe, 175 units on 8 acres, which will be an 830G, and because of that, they can do whatever they want and they can get away with it. And only 10% of it will be low-income housing, or that's all they are required to do. And they want to develop this whole parcel, which will completely impact the neighborhood. From what I understand, just to give you a background, there's 3 owners. I just was with somebody who's on the RTM. He's the head of the RTM of the property last night. And he had said there's the Trinity Church is involved, the Berg family, and the Connecticut Diocese. And those 3 people have to come together to make a decision who to sell it to, but the diocese has the ultimate decision-making power. Everybody has met with the diocese, and there is talk of putting the developer who has the offer in that was just about to get accepted on the back burner and explore other options. And the diocese is eager to hear from the town or the church or whoever what to do with this property. And so I think it's an amazing opportunity for maybe us to step in and maybe somehow acquire this piece and make it some open space for the town.
We've seen what's happened with these low-income housing units and usurping our zoning laws. I mean, it's really kind of an eyesore. Everyone that I've seen go up recently has been an eyesore.
Oh, yes, and this one will be even larger.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add that the potential buyer is Fairfield Housing Authority, so this does shed a different light on that property.
Yes, and I'll chime in. I was contacted both by Bruce Audino. I don't know if you know him, Tara, one of the neighbors.
No.
And also Dave Brandt from Aspect Land Trust was also brought in. I think they had a meeting last week to discuss options. I thought it was the Episcopal Diocese that owns the property. It's 8.6 acres, and it's Fairfield Housing Corps that is in maybe an agreement to buy the property, but it hasn't been completely finalized yet. I think the problem from our perspective with the town is that we just spent $5 million in Southport,
right.
Which could be part of the issue. I know that the neighbors are working very hard to try to obviously circumvent that. It's difficult in that it's in a residential neighborhood, and I think that property had always been thought that it would remain kind of in its current state, and I'm not sure what the change of heart was with the diocese.
Well, I believe that the developer made a price that they can't refuse.
Right.
And is it because of the Section 8 aspect of it that the, zoning rules get changed in terms of how many units can be on the area?
Exactly. I think a typical developer would probably pay about $4 million, and I believe the rumor is they're offering $8 million.
Yeah, because they know they can usurp our zoning rules, right, and do whatever the heck they want.
Can I ask a question?
Jump in.
Cassandra Marshall here. I'm wondering, have the ability to go to the developer since she is technically she's the Fairfield Housing Authority, which is the same as Fairfield Housing Corp. Can we advise her at all about this land use? That's out of our purview.
A little bit out of our purview, a little bit. At this point, I'm not sure, what our role would be. We don't even have, this isn't formally on our agenda tonight, so it's all just discussion at this point. But
I just wanted to, if we could discuss the environmental impact and somehow have a say there, but that's further out.
Yeah, again, not really in our purview or our charge as land acquisition. But I think. This is what they've done. I mean, they're the same group that bought the High Street property, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So, Tara, aware of that, and it's interesting because there's been a lot of open space discussion over the past year. Not a lot has come across our plate, but the Pansy Road Farm as well that I know Cassandra was involved in. That has since been taken off the market. But that's another one that at some point we should be ready to move on a property like that if it ever became available again. And, from that meeting back in September, we did have a discussion with Dave Brandt. Jeff Galdenzi was there with Brenda, with Jim Baldwin from the town attorney. It was a good discussion. Brian Carey was there. It was almost the beginning of kind of maybe a formal protocol, as you were looking for before, Cassandra. What would we do? But that seemed to dissolve a little bit in the fall. Okay, that was kind of my chairman's report. Any other discussion or thoughts there?
This is Jeff. Just following up on the idea of meeting with Brenda. I don't know if we want to also send a letter or an email or something, because it does appear that we've fallen off the radar of the town, at least. So we have to sort of figure out how to get back into conversation.
I completely agree, and it requires communication. I think, like most people, the past month, 2 months has been kind of a blur with the holidays and the year end and everything that's been going on. But I think as we look forward this year, I think that's first thing on the agenda for this commission is to just raise our profile again. I say that knowing that we do have a piece of new business on our agenda that we need to discuss that was brought to us to review. So it's been inconsistent, but we still are kind of out there on some radar.
Can I just ask one more question from the chairman's report before we move on?
Go ahead.
This is Kevin quickly. You mentioned Brian not in his position currently. I don't know if that's something we had talked about in October or not. Could you just remind us what the situation is?
Yeah, and someone else can maybe chime in if they know more, but certainly Brian Carey, that's Kevin?
Yeah.
Okay. Brian Carey, Conservation Director, was, I think, placed on leave in November. He was arrested in relation to the fill pile situation in the town of Fairfield.
Okay. Yeah.
And certainly, I think you can probably find information online in specific regards to Brian was implicated in being involved in obviously that whole situation, and so he is not actively at work right now, and I don't know if that situation has changed formally or not, but that happened, I think, in early or mid-November.
Okay. And there's no one acting in his role right now? Because it's just been too tight of a time frame.
Again, someone chimed in if they know more. I do not. I think Annette Jacobson is there. And certainly I think the engineering department has taken a bigger role as well. But right now Brian is not there.
Okay. And the reason I ask is just as we're thinking about communication, he was one of our quickest, most direct links, right? So, to the extent someone comes in an acting position or he's eventually replaced, that person I think becomes important to us going forward again.
Big time, for sure. No doubt about it. Great. Any other comments or thoughts? Okay. We move on to, if I find my agenda, 2021 officer elections for the Land Acquisition Commission. We haven't had much discussion on this. Is anyone interested in looking at a position formally? I did reach out to the current slate of officers, and that would be Adam Goodman in the secretary position and Jeff Galdenzi in the vice chair position, and certainly myself in the chair position. I am certainly willing to serve another year, and I think Jeff and Adam are as well. If someone wanted to nominate that slate, otherwise we are taking additional nominations for roles.
What roles are open?
There's the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
This is Kevin, just my 2 cents on it. I think given the disjointed nature of the way everything's operating right now, in my opinion, the consistency is probably a good thing. So I would motion to nominate the same slate unless anyone else feels there's a good reason otherwise.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second that.
Any discussion? Jeff or Adam, did I read your thoughts correctly?
Yes, thank you, Mike. Thank you for the board for your trust to go forward.
You got it. Just eyes on the road right now.
Same for me. I'm happy to serve as secretary again if you'll have me.
Great. Okay. Then all in favor of electing the current slate to serve this year in their current roles, say aye.
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 Opposed? Congratulations, Adam and Jeff and myself. We are in our roles again for the next year. And I will echo that as well. I appreciate the confidence you all have in me as well. It is my final year on the Land Acquisition Commission, my 8th and final year, and it'll be my 8th and final year as chair as well. So I look forward to it, and I hope that we can meet in person sooner rather than later. Moving very quickly on to new business. So I did receive a call and an email from Scott Lehman. Scott is with the engineering department of the town of Fairfield. He made me aware of 150 Villa Avenue. I know I sent out the agenda late yesterday and gave you guys a heads up on it. I'm not sure if anyone's aware of the property or what it is. I'll give you a quick run through of what I know. Basically, Scott, again, with Fairfield Engineering Department, met with Jim Baldwin and John Marsilio from DPW. And the town is interested in purchasing this property. 150 Villa Avenue is a vacant property. It's 3.8 acres, mostly wetlands. Could it be buildable? Perhaps. Not certain of that, as Scott's take on it was that it was very wet. It's appraised at $418,000. It's assessed at $293,000. Taxes on it are about $6,400 a year. And the primary purpose of it would be to mitigate the flooding on the Rooster River. And if anyone, I don't know if anyone lives near the Rooster River or is aware of the Rooster River, but it has had a long it's been a flooding issue for a long, long time, and the Rooster River Flood Control Mitigation Project really is looking at a couple of different areas along the Rooster River in the town of Fairfield to mitigate that flooding, and this would be perhaps one of those properties. The goal would be to reduce the flooding, to acquire the parcel. It's within the Rooster River flood zone. The current owners of the property live in an adjacent house on Algonquin Road. Algonquin is the road that leads up to Brooklawn Country Club. And they live in an adjacent property. I guess their property is for sale right now, and they're perhaps interested in selling this adjacent lot as well. Where we are at right now is that Scott is having the property appraised. We have not received the appraisal back. I think the town is bound by any sort of formal appraisal on as to what we could offer, so we don't have a number to work with. I think what our goal is to maybe discuss this property, what its benefits could be, and then perhaps make a motion that would be in favor or against the town acquiring it if the price was agreeable. Questions, thoughts, comments?
Cassandra here. I think it is important to really emphasize that Rooster River flooding. I live sort of near it, on Texas Hill, and lots of neighbors experience flooding. And also, if you look at the map of town of Fairfield, you'll see that there's not much open space over on this end of town. So the more that we can build, the better I think it is for Fairfield.
Yeah, thank you, Cassandra.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, just quickly. No, I agree with that entirely on the flood perspective. And I remember from the meetings last January around the town's, kind of long-range plan, right? A lot of it was around flood mitigation from the sound, but also from the rivers and low-lying areas. So I think this fits well within that strategy from an overall conservation perspective. So I think that's great, and that's a win there. And then the other aspect, too, is that you look at it, right, I think 3.5 acres you said it was, and I'm looking at it right now on the map. The location could be another one that's right for another 50-plus unit development. Who knows? And if it's a reasonable price and it can be a nice piece of open space over in a dense area that doesn't have much, I think it's a win-win in a bunch of different ways.
Thank you, Kevin.
Adam here, a question about the property.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm looking at it as well. I've never been there, but it looks like an abandoned oxbow. I forgot what they call it. It's where the river used to flow there, and then it cut through, and now it flows where it flows.
Right.
So is that how they plan? What would be the plan for minimizing flooding? Is to direct water into that area during flooding times? How would that work?
Yeah, I asked the same question, and actually it would have been great to have Scott on this call to answer something like that. My understanding, Adam, is that the property serves really as a flood relief for the Algonquin neighborhood. But the reality is that property flows directly, that stream, that tributary flows directly into the Mill River. And so the hope would be that during periods of flooding that it wouldn't be exacerbated by additional water flowing into the Rooster River from that property. They would I think get rid of a couple of pipes I think that drain directly from that into the Rooster River and allow more flooding on that property, perhaps to retain more water on that property. And again, I'm not speaking probably the correct language here, but
it seems like it could work on some level because it looks like the old channel of the river is that property. So
right.
If it's flowed there once before, the ground, you'd be able to grade it so that it could work out as a relief point, I imagine.
Correct. That's exactly it. I mean, I think it would serve. They could work with it for it to retain more water during periods of flooding. It does have the support of the Brooklawn Association, so there's neighborhood support. And I agree with Cassandra before. If you zoom out, there's not a lot of open space in that area. I mean, the Tunxus Hill Park is adjacent nearby, but beyond that, there's not much that is left in its natural state. Other comments? Questions? I'm sorry? Anyone? So, I mean, I would probably move in a direction of being in favor of this. I do agree that the Rooster River is a problem that's been around for decades in this town, and certainly anything that the town could do to help mitigate some of those issues would be a relief for those residents that live in that neighborhood, or around the Rooster River. That alone would, put me in favor of acquiring the property. Let alone that's almost 4 acres of woodlands on a really, Villa Avenue is a busy street. With what is the road that comes down right there? Melville. So it's a busy little area right there. Would anyone want to try to craft a motion for us to discuss? Okay, I was thinking something along the lines of we would move let's see, we would be in favor basically of the town acquiring this property given the benefits of flood mitigation for the Rooster River and open space preservation if an agreeable price was determined based upon the pending appraisal.
Can you add on to that in conjunction with the strategic plan, Fairfield, I don't know how to word that, but I feel like we should say that this is in alignment with Fairfield plan.
Right. I like that. If anyone could remember what I just said there. Adam, did you get that by chance?
I got that. I got it. The motion is, one second. The motion is that we are in favor of the town acquiring the 150 Villa Avenue property, given the benefits of flood mitigation, open space preservation, in alignment with the Fairfield strategic plan.
Yep.
That was all I have.
With it, if there is an agreeable price determined by the pending property appraisal. And agreeable might not be the right word. It could be, but I think that agreeable could work. Anyone want to comment on that?
I mean, we usually have more pricing information up front, but so we don't know what the price is to make a final assessment. And also, I assume they're going to do but not the survey. What was the other thing they would do?
Environmental study.
Environmental study. Thank you. On the property.
Yep. I would think so. I mean, the property is assessed. It's appraised at 418. It's assessed at 293. Those prices are almost built in like it's a buildable lot. And Scott was unsure of this, but certainly with his understanding that it wasn't buildable, which is why the appraisal is very important to see what it comes back at. Because if it's a non-buildable 4-acre lot, the price is going to be a lot different. So yes, we don't have an appraisal price to work off of.
Can we use the word fair? If there's a fair price?
Good. Yes.
Based on the appraisal value?
Based upon the pending appraisal.
Okay.
Would you like to read it back one last time?
Sure. The motion is that the Land Acquisition Commission is in favor of the town acquiring the 150 Villa Avenue property, given the benefits of flood mitigation, open space preservation that is in alignment with Fairfield's strategic plan, if there is a fair price based upon the pending appraisal, something along those lines.
Yep. Is there a second?
This is Kevin. I'll second, but with one also question. should we include something in there around the environmental study on the land itself, just to make sure we're covered off on that aspect as well?
That's a good idea.
Okay.
So can you? So it would be along the lines of after the strategic plan, given a fair price from pending appraisal and a clean environmental status. Does that work, Kevin?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
I would second that in that language.
Okay. There is a motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion or thoughts? Cool. All in favor of said motion, say aye.
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 Hey, all opposed? Okay, I think that was unanimous. Thank you all for the discussion on that. And Adam, let me know if you need anything more on that. But that's great. I will follow up with Scott Lehman. We'll learn. I'll communicate any additional progress with this property before our next meeting. Moving quickly into old business. 3581 Black Rock Turnpike, and both these will fall into the same category. And 3724 and 3726 Post Road. Those are both. Let me back up. 3581 Black Rock Turnpike was brought to us in July of last year. It is another orphan property that the town of Fairfield owns. It's near the Sunoco gas station up on Black Rock Turnpike. An adjacent property owner expressed interest in buying it. We looked at it. We made a motion on it to move forward, pending, I think, some environmental studies on that. And again, I think that needs to be followed up with conservation to find out what and where that stands. I don't know. I don't have any more information on it. And the same thing is with 3724 and 3726 Post Road. Those are the two properties in Southport along the former mill pond on the Westport line that after the dam broke became were no longer water logged, I guess, underwater. And the property owners are in arrears on the taxes and, again, don't have an update on that as to where that stands. We never made a formal motion on those properties. I know the Sasquatch, Southport Open Space Association, is in favor of keeping them, obviously, as open space. They're adjacent to an open space property that the town of Fairfield owns. So both those are still out there. I don't have any updates, but that I think is part of our maybe better communication moving forward, find out the status of those two so that we can kind of at least understand what happened to them or make a motion and try to move them forward if need be. Anyone have any thoughts on either one of those properties?
What's the address of the second one? Not Black Rock.
Yeah. Yes. Nick?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What's the address of the property in Southport?
In Southport is 3724 Post Road and 3726 Post Road. Right next to the Shake Shack, the mill pond that's right there.
Got it. Yeah.
That dam gave way, I guess, maybe a year and a half ago or thereabouts. Those properties are alongside that on the town of Fairfield side, no longer underwater, and up for discussion.
Thank you.
So those are both old business. We need to get updates on those.
Yeah.
And again, that I think will be tabled until next meeting. Okay. That is the end of our agenda. Our next meeting is April 21st. right now it is a virtual meeting, 6 o'clock on a Wednesday, same bat line, same bat time. And, perhaps we can dream that we might be able to meet in person, but for right now that'll be a virtual meeting. Anyone have any other thoughts or comments before we adjourn?
Just Michael, thank you for your pre-work and putting this all together. Really appreciate your role.
My pleasure, Jeff. Thank you. And we don't necessarily need a motion to adjourn. We can end the meeting right there at 6:43. Appreciate everyone's time. Enjoy your night. Please reach out to me if there's anything that I can do. I will follow up this meeting with a couple of things that I have in my documents, including that open space inventory. And hopefully see you all soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye.